again, as we've talked all day, we've talked about spending more money, but it's spend money wisely. Don't just spend money to spend money. You can do that, but get the value in the roof, the value in how it's put on, so that everyone can win. Thanks, guys. All right, we've talked a lot today about these folks, and we're not gonna spend a ton of time, but and so when someone asks me, should I get a contractor? I mean, should I get an architect, engineer, roof consultant? Is that a good idea? My answer is, if you get the right one.
Yes, agree.
I mean, so one of the keys here, I presume all you guys have worked with people in these various things that have been really good, but are some not as good as others just because they have that behind their name? Be it a roof consultant or...
Yes. Oh, yeah.
There's no question. You got to do your research. Just like you talked about researching manufacturers, who makes the right system that fits the building use, the building needs, and the performance criteria we need. You've got to do your research on that side too. You got to know who you're working with. Contractor, consultant, architect, whoever it is, you got to know who you're dealing with.
Agree. You, as far as specifications and what consultants specify, you and I talked about this earlier, but you know, when consultants have allegiances to certain manufacturers, certain systems, and specify those, it locks out, number one, it locks out a lot of bidders. Number two, it's usually a more expensive system. I know that we have bid projects, and for y'all, that where they narrow down the manufacturer specifications, and you know, our bid was probably 15% higher than had I just been able to price out a 0.60 mil TPO versus X manufacturer.
Well, the key there is specifying a performance criteria.
Exactly.
Not a brand. And you do that, you're going to create opportunities to see more options in that deal, and you're going to give contractors more ability to weigh what might be the most attractive option or best price on that assembly and system performance-wise at that given time.
Exactly. We have better buying power through certain manufacturers, absolutely. And when those manufacturers are locked out of the bid process, you know, we're forced to go buy from somebody that we don't normally buy from, and we're going to pay, you know, basically market price, and that doesn't help y'all. If you see roof specifications that include manufacturer names, it should be, just like Scott said, performance standards, the thickness of the TPO, a hard board underneath 2.5 inches or whatever of ISO board, how you want it fastened, and what kind of warranty you're expecting out of that system. That's really the way that your specs need to read.
So sometimes when someone says they're free for something, is that kind of a thing? Because I know a lot of folks say, I'll do a free roof inspection, but
Watch
is
out.
it really? Yeah.
No, it's not. And that has been the game changer over the last 15 years in this market. It is really, it's a snake den. It's crazy what a hailstorm brings in. You know, we had a big one in San Antonio in 2016. You know, we went from probably, 30 local roofing companies to, 200 or 250 overnight. They travel with the storms. Then when it comes time where you have a warranty issue or something like that, they're nowhere to be found.
When you run into, like you're referring to, you find somebody that's out doing inspections for free, annually, semi-annually, those kinds of things, I could just about guarantee you, when you start to to cut contracts, you're going to pay about a 15 to 30% premium over what you should be, bar none.
Grady?
Two things. First, on the contractors, the exploding market, when there's an event, just doing your homework, making sure that's where qualified, if you're going out for pricing, qualifying the contractors on the proposals helps a lot. Understanding what their history is and their experience. Someone that's been slapping shingles on a roof for the last 20 years may not be the best person to put a TPO on your gymnasium. Secondly, on talking about having some flexibility from the contractors on proposals in your specifications, make sure you allow for some alternates and how those are handled. Honestly, I never wanted to see an alternate that the first time I saw anything about it was on bid day. To have some time for our consultant to review it, to make sure it fit the specifications. It may be something that they're learning about as well. So have a process for those alternates that's in advance, so that also for transparency and fairness, that can be communicated to all of the contractors as a pricing option. And it in turns delivers better value to the
You know, it's a
district.
good point. And our normal MO is we always have a mandatory pre-bid. Everybody shows up at the same time. We review the scope of work. We then walk the site. And one of the things we spend a lot of time doing is saying, hey, if you have a way from a performance standpoint to get to the same result, but you might do it a little different this way, a little different that way, but I still have a detail that isn't going to increase maintenance, it isn't going to reduce the performance level that we've specified, we're still going to achieve the same guarantee, I want you to submit it. Submit it, we get it. Now I tell them, understand this, everything that gets submitted 5 days after the mandatory pre-bid is going to go on a spreadsheet with attached details, and it's going to go back to the owner to distribute to everyone that signed in. So if you think you're giving me a trade secret, the only thing I can tell you is don't do it, okay? But we want to get the biggest, widest window we can for these contractors. Because the bigger, the wider the window, the less risk dollars they're going to put into that project. It's that simple. Just like we expect you as a contractor that you can come in and work for 4 weeks without us having to finance your business. But on the other side of it, it is not right for us to demand you work 4 weeks and then sit on your invoice for 6 weeks. Not right. If we're going to ask one, we better be ready to deliver on the other. It's all about just being fair. Be fair.
And when you speak a wide window, you're not saying loosey-goosey or lax on requirements, responsibilities. It's still going to meet what you need.
I'm
and
talking
protect
about,
you.
and I'll use an example with adhesives. There are some adhesives out there that I literally would almost as a contractor need to take a science kit to test the ambient air, the wind speed, the dust particles in the air, and everything else to literally know that that adhesive is going to bond with the cover board and the underside of the membrane. I've got some other products out there, for example, one where if they were a contractor to go up and use it and the temperature, ambient temperature drops from 38 degrees to 30, so below freezing, the worst thing that can happen to that product is he's only going to get 80% of the product out. That's a big window. That means there's less risk in that product becoming damaged or affected once it's installed than say this one I got to have a science kit with, 68 degree ambient. Can't be 69, can't be 72, can't be 58. Okay, you got to have this little window. Well, that means that guy's going to be able to work maybe 10% of the week. It ain't going to work, and it's not going to be very effective.
Anything else on any of these? And I would also point out, you, as the owner, you have a right to ask about what they're doing, especially when folks are working on a share percentage, some of these folks. I would argue and ask, are they incentivized to keep the price appropriate if they're making a percentage? They may very well, but again, it's a fair question for you to ask and say, well, you're getting 8%. Is that why you recommended $1 million project versus an 800,000 because you win more than I do. Again, just be sure that what you get is what you want and the value that you need. You know, not saying anyone's doing anything wrong. It's just questions need to be asked and need to be understood. You have a right to understand as that building owner. Any questions at all on any of this?
Just as a footnote on that, we don't charge percentage. We strictly charge whatever time and effort we put into it with our staff. We've never gone that route.
That's the way to go.
So, Troy, you want to wrap us up if there are no questions?
We finished? Yeah, let's go. Okay. All right. So, are there any topics, questions that we haven't addressed that y'all have? Because if not, I'll just offer a couple parting thoughts and we'll be done. So, yeah, I think we probably didn't know it at the time, but we can probably trace the origins of this back to 2014 and such, when it started hailing, or it seemed like it started hailing a lot more than it had been previously. And yeah, at least I know for us at TASB and probably at TML as well, the initial thoughts were, gosh, what's happening? What's going on? How do we respond? And at first you think it's a small problem, but as it's progressed over the years, it's become more complicated and just broader and complex, to the point where we are here today talking about such a wide variety of things. I mean, so many things that I couldn't do it justice to try and summarize, but here we are trying to better understand ourselves as organizations between TASB and TML. We also talk with our partners at TAC also, and just ourselves understanding kind of what's going on, understanding about roof types, about buildings, about construction, and then trying to impart knowledge to our collective members as well to help them better understand what's going on, how can they address what seems to be the increasing risks that are happening with hail and all of the other challenges, and expanding beyond just claim scenarios to, okay, how can we help you when you're just trying to do regular roof replacements or when you're building new buildings. So it's really just grown in complexity. So, we hope that this information today was helpful and effective. Very grateful for Grady, Jim, Scott, Helene, Kendall to share their expertise and knowledge with us. The good thing is that our organizations have great folks that either work with us or work for us, and we're trying to be better for the organization, be better for y'all, so that especially for the school members and the city folks and county folks, that you guys can focus on what you do. Teach kids, run your cities, run your organizations, run your entities, and not have to worry so much about all of this other stuff. So we'll continue our efforts to just learn more and try and provide the opportunities to share more information and knowledge with our membership. So again, thank you guys. And I've got a note. There is an evaluation, and Joni, where it'll be emailed out. Okay, so please do fill out the evaluation and give us some feedback. This is the first time we've done something like this and really in a format like this. So please give us some feedback, and appreciate the folks that are here in attendance and those that watched online. And I don't know if Joni too, if with it being recorded, I don't know if there will be publicly available or the live stream videos will be available.
So get back with us, because we're having them.
Yeah.
We'll be reaching out in a couple weeks.
Okay, so we'll get you more information. So if there's parts of this that you want to go back and rewatch and listen to, then that'll be made available to you.
Thank y'all.
Great, thank you guys.